In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to raise exceptions with different payloads in Python. On my screen, I have a file except_raise.py that I will run to do this demonstration. We'll talk about this output here in just a moment. We have a couple modules that are imported. The error number module is helpful for being able to identify error numbers and be able to use constants that have names associated with those numbers. The OS module has a path module where isFile can be used to determine whether or not a file path is a valid file. And as you can see in the function check_file, where a file path is provided as an argument, if not os.path is file, with that file path as an argument, indicates that that is not a valid file. So this function will raise file not found error. Now when you want to raise an exception like this, you can simply raise an exception with the exception name only, although this is generally not recommended. You want to also typically provide some kind of message to go along with that error. You can see in the example, try check file with invalid.path, that the except block will catch file not found as exception, and when we go to print that out with the number 1 handled file not found error, the exception object has no string for the message. So as a better example of raising an error, we can see the function define check_file_message, where it has a file path. And similarly to the previous function, if not os.path.isFile, with that file path argument, it will raise file not found. But in this case, it will substitute the file path in the quoted string and then display the message not found. So if we try that function and handle that exception, when we go to print that out, the exception object by default will show that string. So at least you normally want to provide a message or a string when raising an error. Depending on the type of exception that you're using, there can be different arguments that you might be able to find. By using help on that particular class, it can define the different parameters that that particular exception accepts. In check_file_args, again, we have something like a file name, and if that file name is not a valid path, we will raise the file not found error. In this case, the error number with the ENOENT for an error of no entry from that error number module is the specific error number related with a file that's not found. OS module has a str error function that can take one of those error numbers and show you the associated operating system message. We have the original file name. We also have another parameter for a number, the win error number, although there is no module like error number, which defines all the win errors, which are errors that are specific to the Windows platform. And there is even a second file name that's a available parameter for file not found. So when we go to try to check file underscore args with invalid path as a file name, the file not found error as an exception is handled. And when we go to print that exception, it will show the string where it includes almost all of those parameters with the win error number, the operating system error message, the file name, and the file name too. And you can see printing the exception.args, all the arguments that it has beyond the normal message. And as one final example, we will do a real check of a file and have a real error occur in the function check underscore file underscore real that takes a file name. It will then attempt to assign f, the variable, a file object by opening that file name. And if we try that function with an invalid path, we can handle that real error that occurs. You don't normally have to always raise exceptions. Sometimes they get raised simply by the fact that you're trying to do something that would cause an error. In this case, that error would be file not found. And as an exception object, we can see that exception and its arguments. So you see in number 4 a similar error. Number 2, no such file or directory, invalid path, where the call to just opening that file name automatically provided the correct arguments to raising the file not found error. And lastly, we see the output from help file not found error, where we see that help down below. And as you are looking at trying to use a particular exception class, the things that you want to be aware of can be these data descriptors that might be used from its parent class. And so we see those various different parameters that can be passed, as well as other kinds of methods that are available along with this class. So now you've seen how to raise errors either explicitly by using that raise keyword, along with the error class name, and then whatever parameters might be appropriate for that particular class. And typically, at least when you go to raise an error or some kind of exception, you'll use at least one parameter, which will be an error message to be displayed along with the class name.